The millionaire freezes, seeing the female beggar cleaning his house for the first time. Camilla's hands shook as she gripped the worn rag, scrubbing fiercely at the glossy marble floor that stretched endlessly under the cold chandelier. The mansion was a fortress of silence, every corner echoing with a chilling emptiness. Heavy velvet curtains swallowed the sunlight, and dusty portraits of forgotten ancestors stared down with hollow eyes. This was Daniel's domain, a place as rich as it was haunted, and she, a woman with no place in this glittering world, had been hired to clean it. She wasn't just any cleaner. To the servants whispering behind closed doors, Camilla was the beggar, her threadbare clothes and tired frame a stark contrast to the mansion's gold and crystal. But Daniel never noticed the judgments or the snickers from his staff. For years, he had locked himself away in this grand cage, untouched by the world outside, until Camilla arrived, scrubbing the floors and dusty. Curiosity? The exact feeling slipped away too fast. But in that frozen moment, Daniel noticed the way her hands trembled, not from cold, but something heavier, a buried pain he recognized too well. She fought a tight knot in her throat each morning, wiping down silver frames, while her mind raced to the hospital room, where her mother lay fragile, the bills piling up like shadows. Her reputation, shaped by rumors and harsh whispers of a family brought to ruin by some ruthless corporate game, clung to her like a stain no soap could wash out. And yet, she faced the mansion's chill and Daniel's cold stares with a stubborn fire burning bright. The air between them sparked, silent, strange. Daniel, wrapped in his loneliness, found himself watching her deliberate steps along marble halls. Camilla's authenticity was a challenge to his lonely fortress. But then, like a sudden storm cracking the sky, Isabella returned. Isabella, Daniel's ex, beautiful, sharp, with a venomous smile. She came. The mansion grew colder. Tensions thickened the air. Conversations held silent accusations, while Camilla felt every glance like a knife. She and Daniel now stood not only on the edge of something fragile and strange. They were drawn into a fight for their truths and for something like love to bloom in all the cracks. One rainy evening, her phone buzzed with an anonymous tip, a clue about her father's downfall that didn't fit the stories she'd been told. Her heart pounded, breath caught, hands trembling as the walls of her past started to crack open. Questions exploded inside her. Who could she trust? Was she ready to fight back? Or was she about to fall deeper into the cycle she'd always hated? The mansion watched, silent. The millionaire and the beggar, worlds colliding with blood and secrets. Camilla was standing at a crossroads, but the path ahead? It was shrouded in shadows darker than the halls she cleaned. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Camilla stood frozen, her fingers still gripping the phone as the rain drummed insistently against the window. An anonymous tip? The thrill of hope twisted with the weight of dread in her chest. The message was short, but impactful. Your father's downfall wasn't just corporate greed. Look deeper into your mother's family. The words slam. What did it mean? Was her mother involved? She shook her head as if to clear the brewing storm of confusion. But the shadows of her past crept closer, whispering old fears. She turned, glancing through the open doorway toward Daniel's study. He was nestled among towering books, isolating himself in a thick fog of silence, solitude wrapping around him like a security blanket. The thought sent a tremor through her. He'd been her anchor, but how well did she really know him? Just as doubt started to settle in her mind, there was a sudden crash, a loud shattering sound echoing through the mansion. Camilla's heart leaped into her throat. Without thinking, she raced toward the noise, her bare feet padding softly on the cold marble floor, urgency propelling her forward. The study door flew open, revealing a scene that seized her breath. A shattered vase sitting on a pile of scattered papers. Daniel stood over it, eyes wild, a flicker of something dark and monstrous swirling within them. Camilla took a hesitant step inside, but what caught her breath was not the mess, it was the look on his face. Desperation? Regret? Something deeper still. "Camilla, you shouldn't be here," he said sharply, and for a fleeting moment she saw the sharp edge of loneliness slicing through his bravado. "What's going on, Daniel?" she pressed, her voice steadier than her heart. She stepped closer, her hands shaking. "You're scaring me." Before he could respond, the front door slammed open. Rattling the frames, Isabella marched in, slick with rain, her hair haloed like dark clouds above her face. "Daniel," she called, framing his name with a sharp tongue. "You need to see this." In that instant, the atmosphere shifted. A palpable tension thickened like fog blanketing the air. Camilla glanced from Daniel to Isabella, confusion flooding her senses. What had she just walked into? Isabella handed Daniel a folder, her hand trembling slightly. "It's about your father," she said, her voice low. "There are photos, documents, stuff no one should see." Camilla's stomach dropped. All the pieces felt jigsawed out of reach. The truth about Daniel? About her father? "What does this have to do with me?" Camilla asked, panic lacing her words. Daniel opened the folder, his eyes scanning the documents. His body went rigid, every muscle tense as the color drained from his face. "No, this can't be." His voice cracked, echoing in the chilling silence that enveloped them. A rush of whispers trickled in from the shadows, echoes of the staff creeping to the door, drawn by the commotion. Conversations halted, eyes widened in shock. Camilla felt their stares like 1,000 icy blades. "What is it?" she demanded, stepping closer. "What did you find?" But in that moment, the picture slipped from Daniel's fingers, snaps of Camilla's mother, her father, and a shocking figure she never expected to see. Daniel's father. They seemed to be caught in some hidden alliance, shattering everything she thought she knew. "Your families were connected, deeply. This isn't just business, Camilla. It's personal," Daniel whispered, disbelief flooding his voice. Camilla's mind raced. Trust fell into pieces around her, leaving her gasping for air. All the boundaries she fought to find them were painted in shades of betrayal. "What does this mean?" she asked, her voice barely a murmur. Life in the mansion hung in the balance, the air electric with uncertainty. This discovery felt like a spark against the dry kindling of untold stories. Were they standing on the brink of danger or redemption? Though she was ready to fight for the truth, it felt like stepping into darkness blindfolded. The floor beneath her seemed to tremble, and with the whispers escalating around them, she could only wonder what lay ahead. The shattered pieces of their lives had begun to reform, but into what? Camilla's mind spun, the revelations crashing against her like waves. Daniel's father, her father, the hidden alliance they shared. Each new piece twisted her gut tighter with confusion. But why were they connected? She implored, desperation creeping into her voice. What was the truth? Daniel's eyes darted between the photos, shock etching deep lines on his face. The staff peered inside, hushed whispers trickling through the air like oil on water. Their eyes flickered between Daniel and Camilla, uncertainty curling into judgment. The tension was thick, like smoke filling a room, dense and suffocating. "I don't know," he breathed, a tremor dancing on his lips. "But it can't be what it looks like. There has to be an explanation." Camilla's heart pounded, fear gnawing at her resolve. Isabella shifted, her expression darkening further. "You need to understand, Daniel," she began, a chill crawling up Camilla's spine at the coldness in Isabella's voice. "This isn't just some ancient family feud. It's something bigger, deeper." As if on cue, a sudden loud bang echoed through the mansion, shaking the foundations. The lights flickered above, plunging them into momentary darkness before the power hummed back to life. Camilla jumped, her heart racing. What was that? She had barely finished her question when a deafening crash interrupted them again. The heavy wooden doors to the mansion burst open, rattling against the walls. And a figure stepped into the chaotic scene, drenched, wild-eyed, and breathing heavily. "Get back!" shouted a man, his voice cracking with urgency. The atmosphere shifted, like the electric before a storm. Camilla squinted, recognition pricking at her consciousness. Martin? It was her brother, the one she thought lost to the shadows of her family's downfall. She hadn't seen him in years, not since everything fell apart. Memories rushed in like a torrent. Fights, desperation, the stench of betrayal. "What are you doing here?" Martin looked around, panic in his gaze. "Camilla, it's not safe. We need to go, now." His eyes darted toward Daniel and Isabella, fear mixing with anger. "They're in on it, both of them. You don't know what's coming." "What do you mean?" she demanded, confusion and heat swirling in her chest. She turned back to Daniel, whose shock wavered between alarm and guardedness. "They knew." Martin's voice dropped to a harsh whisper, echoing in the tense air. "They know everything about our family, the secrets we buried. They're the reason our lives fell apart." His accusation hung over them like a storm cloud, brewing and waiting to break. "What are you talking about?" Camilla barely managed to breathe. Before her brother could respond, Isabella stepped forward, fury igniting in her eyes. "You don't understand, Martin. You think you can just come back after all this time and—" Martin cut her off, his voice rising. "Shut up! You don't get to play the victim now. You're part of this too. Your family. It's woven into this mess." Daniel took a step back, eyes wide, wrestling between disbelief and anger. "What are you saying? This is insane." But Martin's gaze remained locked on Camilla, raw and insistent. "You need to trust me. They've been hiding the truth. Your mother, she wasn't just innocent in this. She knew more than she let on. And there are people who will come for that information. They're here to tie loose ends." Time froze. Camilla's world tilted on its axis. The familiarity, comfort of the past, shattered. The walls around her felt like a vice. "What loose ends?" she hissed, unable to process the words. Outside, thunder rumbled, the sky darkening ominously. The tension coiled tight, thicker than the air in the room. Daniel glanced at Isabella, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. In that moment, Camilla realized the truth about their worlds crashing together. It wasn't just their lives at stake. It was the lives of those they loved, buried deep in secrets. Chills raced down her spine. Suddenly, the power surged again, and the lights died. Panic erupted. A mix of shouting, confusion, and chaos. The whispers of betrayal echoed. And in that enveloping darkness, Camilla felt the real storm brewing. One that could shatter them all, leaving nothing but shadows in its wake. The darkness enveloped them, a thick, suffocating veil. In the cacophony of panic, Camilla's pulse raced. Martin's words rattled in her mind, echoing like an ominous drum. "They know everything," he had said. What did he mean? "Get back," Martin urged again, his voice strained, panic spilling over. His presence felt like a lightning bolt in the stormy room. The chaotic energy was palpable. Camilla stood paralyzed, caught between the shards of her reality and the haze of betrayal. Isabella scoffed, a venomous spark igniting in her eyes. "I don't believe you," she sneered, stepping closer, eyes narrowed. "You're just a desperate pawn trying to stir trouble." But Martin refused to back down. "You don't understand. Your family, my family. We all paid the price." Anger and fear mixed in his voice, a volatile cocktail. Thunder crashed outside, shaking the mansion. The lights flickered again. Then darkness. Gasps filled the air. Camilla's heart hammered in her chest, each beat a countdown to what she feared might come next. The haunting silence that followed felt like an eternity. A shuffling sound broke through the tension, urgent and heavy. Camilla squinted into the blackness, straining her ears. Something wasn't right. Something was coming. Suddenly, a piercing scream cut through the silence. It was guttural, raw, pulling at the very fabric of her soul. "Help!" The unmistakable voice belonged to the housekeeper, Anne, echoing from the depths of the mansion. Camilla's heart sank. Fear ignited a spark of urgency. "Anne, what happened?" she called out, her voice cracking through the fear. But the answer came not from the shadows, but from a sudden burst of light. A flashlight beam pierced the darkness like a sword. It zigzagged through the living room, illuminating faces drawn tight with fear. They turned towards Anne's voice, hesitant yet compelled. When the light flickered over the entryway, Camilla gasped. There, sprawled on the floor, was a figure, motionless. "Anne!" Daniel blurted. Racing forward, blood pooled around her, the vibrant red stark against the sterile white floor. "No, no!" Panic surged as Daniel fell to his knees beside her. Camilla's breath hitched. "Is she?" The question hung, heavy and cruel. The shadow of doubt loomed, darkening everything. Her heart ached, confusion spiraling like wildfire. Isabella's face turned pale. "We need to call for help," she shouted, her bravado melting away. They all rushed past one another, the chaos blocking logic. Just then, another figure materialized in the doorway. A tall man, rugged, 7, eyes glinting with a knowing malice. "Well, well, what a lovely party," he drawled, his smirk twisting the air. "Did I crash it?" Recognition struck Camilla like a bolt. "You!" The man was Mark, the business partner who had betrayed her father. The shock rippled through her, igniting hot fury and disbelief. "What are you doing here?" Mark's eyes danced with amusement. "I figured the hidden family was worth a visit. Such delicious secrets." His words dripped like poison. Martin stepped protectively in front of Camilla, rage boiling over. "You think this is a game? But it is, isn't it? All those whispers, all those scandals, and look where we are." Mark's voice was silk over steel. "You think your past is buried? The truth is coming out, whether you like it or not." Camilla felt the world tilt under her feet. Every secret, every buried betrayal, every whispered truth was about to emerge, like a dam bursting. As Anne's lifeless body lay prone on the floor, and the shock spread like a dark stain, all relationships hung by a thread. In a place where lies spiraled, the walls could soon come crashing down. She braced herself for the truth. It felt like a storm was forming, one that would either cleanse her world or drown them all in chaos. And with the flickers of light dancing around them, she realized the bonds of love, trust, and loyalty had just been rewritten into something darker. A foreboding hung in the air, coiling tightly. What would happen next? What price would they pay for the secrets about to be unleashed? The darkness pressed in tighter, the air thick with tension and panic. Camilla's heart raced as she stared at Mark, the devastating reality of their lives spilling around them. Daniel's face was a mask of confusion and fear, while Isabella's anger turned icy, her eyes glinting like sharpened steel. "Get away from her!" Martin shouted, taking another step forward, fists clenched with rage. He was ready to protect his sister, to draw a line against the encroaching chaos. But before anyone could respond, the heavy front door swung open with a force that rattled the frames. Not just a draft, but something alive. A gust of wind howled through the entryway, and with it came a figure, shrouded in shadows. Camilla squinted, her pulse quickening. Wait, who? It felt like a surreal movie playing out around her, something she had no control over. The room brightened suddenly as lightning flashed outside, casting eerie shadows. "Lucas?" she gasped, the air bursting from her lungs. There stood her estranged father, the man who had vanished into thin air after the downfall, the ghost who had haunted her world. He stepped into the light, rain-soaked and wild-eyed, a man transformed by despair and desperation. "What's going on here?" Lucas roared, scanning the group with a mix of anger and protective instinct. "I heard, 'What have you done?'" The confusion rippled through everyone. Martin's eyes widened, Daniel's narrowed, and Isabella's mouth fell open slightly. The atmosphere shifted again, a new kind of chaos mixing with the existing fear. "Dad?" Camilla said, her voice trembling as she stepped toward him. "Where have you been?" "I'll explain later," he barked. But then his gaze zeroed in on Daniel. "What did you find?" In an instant, the guilt and regret filled Daniel's eyes. "I don't know. It's all connected," Isabella interjected, her tone sharp. "None of this matters if they come. You, Lucas, what did you bring? Did you—" "Shut up, Isabella! This isn't your fight!" Lucas snapped, a purposeful edge in his voice. Just then, another thunderous crash echoed through the mansion. It felt like the walls were shaking in response to the chaos inside. "They're coming," he whispered, his voice hardening. "Who's coming?" Camilla's heart raced, her palms sweaty. But then the shadow shifted again, more figures appearing at the door. Men in dark suits, grim faces, stepping into the light like harbingers of doom. "You need to listen," one said, his voice low, authoritative. "Get out. This is my home." Daniel's voice cracked, but the fear was visceral, a palpable thing in the room, as tension wrestled with disbelief. The lead man stepped forward, a chilling smile on his face. "Your home? It's about to become a lot more complicated." He turned slightly, revealing a glimmer of a badge tucked beneath his jacket. "We're here to collect." "Collect what?" The question slipped from Camilla's lips before she could stop it, her pulse quickening. "What your family owes," the man replied coolly. But there was something darker in his tone, something that promised more trouble than she could comprehend. The revelation hung in the air, thick and suffocating. All eyes widened, and in that moment of raw horror, Camilla felt every thread of her past unraveling at top speed. The hidden truths, the betrayals, all looming large, ready to bolt into the light. "Get back!" Martin shouted again, his protective instinct kicking in, but it felt too late. The room pulsed with an energy that threatened to explode. And then it hit her, the gravity of a reality she couldn't fully grasp yet, a truth that shattered everything. What if the secrets weren't just about her father or Daniel's family? What if she was part of something far more dangerous than betrayal? Before she could voice her fear, her father lunged forward, determination in his eyes. "They need to know the truth. It's time." Daniel stepped beside Camilla, their hands brushing together. A wordless connection formed in the heat of uncertainty. But as the dark figures advanced, an all-consuming dread festered, their intentions shrouded in malice. In that charged moment, Camilla felt the very essence of her world teetering on the brink. The tension crackled around them. What if all she knew was a lie? What if their destinies were intertwined in ways she couldn't comprehend? The stakes had risen, and with them, an unknown future loomed, a path littered with dangers and uncertainty. The storm outside matched the turmoil within, and in that charged air, every heartbeat felt like a countdown to a dark revelation waiting to unfold. What had Lucas brought into their lives that might change everything? Would the truth really set them free, or would it tear them apart? The darkness pressed in tighter, the air thick with tension and panic. Camila's heart raced as Daniel's face was a mask of confusion and fear, while Isabella's anger turned icy, her eyes glinting like sharpened steel. "Get away from her!" Martin shouted, taking another step forward, fists clenched with rage. He was ready to protect his sister, to draw a line against the encroaching chaos. But before anyone could respond, the heavy front doors swung open with a force that rattled the frames. Not just a draft, but something alive. A gust of wind howled through the entryway, and with it came a figure, shrouded in shadows. Camila squinted, her pulse quickening. Wait, who? It felt like a surreal movie playing out around her, something she had no control over. The room brightened suddenly as lightning flashed outside, casting eerie shadows. "Lucas?" she gasped, the air bursting from her lungs. There stood her estranged father, the man who had vanished into thin air after the downfall, the ghost who had haunted her world. He stepped into the light, rain-soaked and wild-eyed, a man transformed by despair and desperation. "What's going on here?" Lucas roared, scanning the group with a mix of anger and protective instinct. "I heard, what have you done?" The confusion rippled through everyone. Martin's eyes widened, Daniel's narrowed, and Isabella's mouth fell open slightly. The atmosphere shifted again, a new kind of chaos mixing with the existing fear. "Dad?" Camila said, her voice trembling as she stepped toward him. "Where have you been?" "I'll explain later," he barked, but then his gaze zeroed in on Daniel. "What did you find?" In an instant, the guilt and regret filled Daniel's eyes. "I don't know. It's all connected," Isabella interjected, her tone sharp. "None of this matters if they come. You, Lucas, what did you bring? Did you—" "Shut up, Isabella. This isn't your fight," Lucas snapped, a purposeful edge in his voice. Just then, another thunderous crash echoed through the mansion. It felt like the walls were shaking in response to the chaos inside. "They're coming," he whispered, his voice hardening. "Who's coming?" Camila's heart raced, her palms sweaty. But then, the shadows shifted again, more figures appearing at the door. Men in dark suits, grim faces, stepping into the light like harbingers of doom. "You need to listen," one said, his voice low, authoritative. "Get out! This is my home!" Daniel's voice cracked, but the fear was visceral, a palpable thing in the room as tension wrestled with disbelief. The lead man stepped forward, a chilling smile on his face. "Your home? It's about to become a lot more complicated." He turned slightly, revealing a glimmer of a badge tucked beneath his jacket. "We're here to collect." "Collect what?" The question slipped from Camila's lips before she could stop it, her pulse quickening. "What your family owes," the man replied coolly. But there was something darker in his tone, something that promised more trouble than she could comprehend. Then, without warning, the lights flickered wildly, and an ear-splitting explosion rocked the mansion, shaking the very foundations. A cloud of smoke burst through the air, filling the space with a choking haze. Camila's heart raced wildly, her throat closing in panic. "Run!" Martin shouted, grabbing Camila's arm and pulling her away from the chaos. The air turned jagged, screams piercing through the confusion, as debris rained down from above. "Get down!" Daniel's shout echoed amidst the chaos, but Camila wasn't thinking anymore. She didn't want to be trapped here. And then she saw it. Something fluttering in the smoke, dragged along by the chaos. A photo, Her mother's name scribbled on the back caught her eye as it danced in the air, landing at her feet. No! She lunged for it, heart thundering. What did it say? What were her parents hiding? But before she could grasp it, the lead man grabbed her shoulder, eyes fierce and icy. "You don't want to know, little girl," he growled, his grip tightening. In that moment, everything froze, the world spinning, time halting, breaths caught in disbelief. All the secrets, all the lies were suddenly alive. "Dad," Camila whispered, her voice trembling. But in the chaos, Lucas stepped toward her. Desperation flashing in his gaze. "It's not just about us. It's bigger. You don't know what they'll do." His warning carved a hole into Camila's heart. What did that mean? They were all consumed in shadows, and she stood in the middle of horror she never saw coming. Before Camila could unravel the truth, another loud bang resonated through the halls, deeper and more ominous. The doors exploded inward, revealing a dark silhouette. A woman stepped through, drenched and fierce, holding a gun with a steady hand. "Step away from my daughter," she shouted. The twist sent shockwaves through the room. The woman was her mother, a very woman she thought lost. What had been buried under layers of betrayal and deceit now clawed its way to the surface. Camila's heart plummeted. Every belief she'd clung to shattered like glass, leaving nothing but a terrifying void. The truth about her family was only beginning to unfold, and the consequences would rip apart everything she thought she knew. The tension in the air was electric. Camila's breath caught as she stared at her mother, the ghost of her past stepping into the room like a tempest. "Mom?" The words slipped from her lips, laced with disbelief. Her heart raced, each beat drumming against her ribs. "Camila." Her mother's voice cut through the chaos, steady and fierce. "We need to get out of here now." The urgency in her tone echoed like a siren in the night. The darkness didn't feel like a refuge anymore. It felt like a trap closing in. Daniel stood frozen, his face torn between shock and confusion. But in the depths of his eyes, there was a flicker of something that made Camila's heart flutter. It was trust. "Your mother, she's part of this," Mark sneered, eyes glinting like cold steel. "She left you to protect herself." "Shut up," Camila shouted, her voice rising above the clamor, fear morphing into anger. "You don't know anything about my family." But just as the words left her mouth, a loud crash echoed, pulling everyone's attention. The window shattered, sending shards of glass cascading like glittering raindrops to the floor. A shadow emerged, moving fast, and in the flickering light, it flew at them. "Duck!" Martin shouted, grabbing Camila and yanking her down. The figure stumbled, dark, cloaked, silent. Panic surged, and Camila's mind raced. Who was it? Friend or foe? "Get away from her!" her mother yelled again as she pushed through the chaos. But the figure seemed to rush toward the dark-suit men, fists flying. It was a whirlwind of motion, a blend of threat and chaos. Suddenly, without warning, a deafening gunshot rang out. Camila's heart stopped, and time slipped into slow motion. She turned, eyes wide, searching for the source of the sound. The cloaked figure dropped to the floor, a dark stain spreading beneath it. "No!" her mother screamed, lunging forward. "Mom, no!" Camila cried, but she was too late. As her mother reached the figure, the truth hit like a punch to the gut. A familiar face twisted in agony, eyes wide with shock. It was Anne, their housekeeper. Why would Anne put herself in danger? The betrayal hit hard, and Camila staggered backward. "Why?" Camila's voice trembled, tinged with sorrow and confusion. "Why would you?" But before anyone could react, the lead man reached for his earpiece, his face transforming into a mask of fierce calculation. "We have a situation," he said into the comms. "Prepare for extraction. It seems we've underestimated the family's connections." "What are you talking about?" Daniel shouted, fists clenched, stepping protectively in front of Camila. No one is going anywhere while something like this. But the man cut him off, his voice sharp as glass. "You have no idea what you're tangling with. That wasn't just a hit. It was a warning. The board is coming for all of you." Camila's stomach twisted. "The board? What do you mean?" The man's smirk returned. "The alliance runs deep, Camila. Your family hasn't just fallen from grace. You're at the center of a storm." "Stop! Just stop!" Her voice cracked, raw and desperate. "What's happening?" Then her mother turned to her, eyes wide with a mix of pain and fierce determination. "We can't stay here. I need you to trust me." She took a step closer, but as she did, another piercing scream ripped through the air. "Get down," Martin shouted as shadows danced behind them. Camila's world spun, confusion tangled with fear. Her mother, her family, everything she thought she knew, the weight of it became unbearable. And in that moment, the unthinkable happened. The sound of sirens pierced the silence outside. Red and blue lights flashing through the windows like a heartbeat. Each pulse a reminder that safety was slipping through their fingers. "Camila," Mark's voice felt like nails on a chalkboard. "You have to choose, family or truth." For the first time, doubt crept into her heart. The room swirled around her, chaos and panic reigniting the storm. Suddenly, she was at a crossroads, truth so close, yet so far away. Each breath heavy with the weight of what lay ahead. As the sirens drew closer, Camila felt a shiver crawl down her spine. Would she follow her mother into darkness, or fight for a truth that might tear her family apart? In that moment of indecision, everything hung in the balance. The stakes had never been higher. Would they survive the night, or were they already trapped in a web of lies too tangled to escape? The sirens outside wailed like angry spirits, merging with the chaos of the moment. Camila stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. Her mother had returned, and everything felt surreal. The air was thick with tension. Every face in the room twisted in fear or anger. The shadows had deepened, wrapping tightly around their secrets, like a vice. "Mom, what happened?" Camila finally managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper, yet heavy with urgency. Her mother's eyes darted around the room, pleading and fierce. "Not now, Camila. They're coming for you." Panic laced her words. "We have to leave." But before she could finish, there was another loud crash as the doors shook in their frames, a surge of darkness flooding the entryway. Figures loomed there, and the stench of fear hung in the air. "Stand back!" the lead man shouted again, the badge glinting ominously in the dim light. "You don't understand the danger you're in." "Danger?" Camila felt the words whip through her, slicing at her resolve. "What do you mean? We haven't done anything." "Exactly," the man replied coolly, his voice slicing through the noise. "But your family has. All of this," he gestured broadly, a taunting smile creeping onto his face, "is just the beginning." Suddenly, like a scene from a nightmare, a figure stepped into the light. It was Lucas, her father, moving with purpose, his face a storm of anger and desperation. "Get away from them!" he yelled, stepping protectively in front of Camila. And then the flash. The tension broke as if it were strung too tight. A gunshot rang out, deafening. Camila froze, her heart stopping, a lump forming in her throat. In her mind, time slowed, chaos swirling into a distorted vision. "Dad!" she screamed, reaching out, her voice ripping through the air like a jagged knife. But Lucas fell, a look of betrayal etched on his face, as the blood pooled around him. The world tilted. She staggered back, shock cascading down her spine. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. It couldn't be real. In the frenzy, her mother screamed, rushing toward him, a wild hope ignited in her eyes. "No, Lucas!" And just then, the room erupted into chaos. "That's it! You're done!" the lead man barked, stepping forward, a cruel satisfaction dancing in his eyes. He pulled a second gun from his belt, a glimmering, polished weapon that echoed danger. "This was never about your family. It was always about the files." "What files?" Camila shouted, desperation thrumming like a heartbeat in her ears. "What files are you talking about?" The darkness shifted again, and in a rapid movement, the man pointed his gun toward her mother, keeping everyone at bay. "Your mother has something that belongs to us. It's time to hand it over." Camila felt the world narrow, her mother going pale, a cornered animal. "I don't have anything. Please, I never—" "Enough!" he yelled. "The past is catching up, and if you don't want to lose your life, hand it over." Camila's heart raced as fear mingled with rage. "Mom, what is he talking about?" But the truth punched in hard and fast. Her mother's eyes flickered with something dark, something that felt like a betrayal. "They want the documents from your grandfather's company," she said carefully, her words weighing heavy with fear. "Those files could destroy them." "Destroy who?" Camila pressed, the air thickening with confusion and suspicion. But just as everything was unraveling, a loud bang resounded, another explosion from within the mansion itself. The floor shook, and the lights flickered once more. The figure that had collapsed earlier, Anne, shifted in the chaos. For a terrible moment, the room held its breath. "Camila, listen," Anne rasped, blood seeping around her. "It's all connected. The truth. You're part of something far bigger than you know." The fragmented words spun in the air, shifting all the previous understandings and beliefs. A realization dawned. The loyalties, the trust, and the very fabric of her family were nothing more than a tangled web of lies and betrayal. "What do you mean?" Camilla's voice trembled, edged with panic and disbelief. But before the truth could crystallize, all the lights went out. Darkness enveloped them, panic swirling like a storm. And in that pitch-black void, a scream shattered the silence. A chilling, gut-wrenching scream that echoed the depths of betrayal but left questions lingering, unanswered. What just happened, she thought, fear wrapping around her like a vice. And in that moment of uncertainty, she knew one thing for sure. The real story was only just beginning. The darkness pressed in, thick and oppressive. Panic hung in the air like heavy smoke. Camilla's heart beat so loudly she thought it might burst. She could barely breathe, lost in confusion. Her mother was alive, but everything else felt like a nightmare spiraling out of control. The sirens outside morphed into a haunting wail, underscoring the chaos within the mansion. "Mom, what's happening? Where have you been?" Camilla's voice trembled with desperation. "Now is not the time," her mother snapped, the urgency in her voice cutting straight through Camilla's fear. "You need to listen to me. We have to leave." But before she could finish her sentence, chaos erupted anew. A figure burst into the room, a tall man with a sharp gaze, holding a device that glowed ominously. The world froze for a heartbeat. "Everyone down," he shouted, and an explosion rocked the very walls of the mansion. The window shattered, sending shards of glass splintering everywhere, glinting in the light like deadly stars. Camila ducked instinctively, feeling the rush of air ripple above her as debris rained down. "Get away!" Martin screamed, yanking Camila closer. But within the chaos, her eyes darted back to her mother, who faced the stranger with fierce determination. "Stop!" her mother shouted, but with a motion that was shockingly swift, the man pointed the device at her mom. "You are supposed to keep it hidden." The tension skyrocketed. Camila felt like she was watching a movie unfolding too quickly to comprehend. "I didn't have it," her mother replied, her voice strained. "I swear." In an unexpected twist, the stranger flicked a switch and with a bright flash, The room turned silent. For a brief moment, everything seemed suspended. The air, the madness, the truth. Then the stranger stepped forward, lowering his weapon. "You don't get it, do you?" His voice was low, filled with a chilling calm. "It wasn't just about the documents, you know. It's about who you are, Camila." "What do you mean?" Camila's heart raced with fear and confusion. The man took another step closer, intensity radiating off him like heat from a fire. "You, your mother, this family, you're part of something bigger. Something we're trying to contain." "What do you mean?" Camila repeated, her voice a mix of defiance and desperation. Then, in a swift motion that felt surreal, the man pointed to her mother. "Your mother. You thought she was trying to protect you. But the truth is, she's the reason this all happened." The room gasped collectively. Camila felt the blood drain from her face. "What? No, she wouldn't. She couldn't." "Your mother made a deal." The stranger's voice was steady, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Years ago, a deal that set off a chain reaction. You're the leverage." "No," Camila whispered. Every piece of her world felt like it was crumbling. "Camila, listen," her mother pleaded, stepping forward. "It's not what you think. I did it to protect you and your father, to save us all." Torn between disbelief and a desperate need for answers, Camila felt the walls closing in. "You. I had to. I had no choice." Her mother reached out, but Camila stumbled back, breathless, heart racing. "Lies!" Mark shouted, his anger spilling out. "You think this is a game? Lives are at stake." Before anyone else could respond, the lights flickered back on, bathing the room in harsh light again. But the real shock was still to come. As the stranger pulled out a document he had clearly been holding, Camila caught a glimpse. A familiar name, one she hadn't seen in years. Her father's name, signed on a deal. "Your dad," the stranger said, "was part of this too. It's time you learned the truth about your own legacy." With that revelation, everything shifted in an instant. All the loyalty, all the love, every moment of safety shattered. The room held its breath, disbelief hanging thick in the air as Camila stared, not knowing where this new reality would take her. Her heart raced, a pinprick of panic forming deep inside. Who could she trust? The urgency thrummed louder, a ticking clock echoing in her mind. And just as she felt she might drown in this flood of betrayal, another sound pierced through, the crack of the front door. But who was coming now? And what would the consequences of this truth be? Would they ever escape the chaos? Or were they destined to confront a darkness deeper than any of them knew? The tension in the room was suffocating. Camila stood in shock, heart racing, as her mother's words hung heavy in the air. Her entire life felt like it was unraveling, a tapestry of lies and hidden truths. "Everyone stay back," the stranger shouted, gun aimed and eyes blazing. Daniel moved protectively in front of Camila, though she could see the fear in his eyes. "Enough!" her mother cried, her own fear palpable. This was supposed to be over, and now it's just beginning. The stranger shot back, a sly grin spreading across his face. "You thought you could escape? Your family's tangled past is coming home to roost." Camila felt each word cut deeper than the shards of glass scattered around the room. Her mind spun, grasping for clarity, for answers. "Why did you come back now?" she demanded, tears threatening to spill. "What has this all been for?" Her mother took a step forward, passion igniting in her voice. "To protect you, to save us from this nightmare." But before Camila could reply, there was another loud crash from the hallway. More shadows poured in, menacing shapes lurking outside the light. Panic rippled through her family like an electric charge. "Get your hands off of her," shouted Martin, fist clenched. The stranger glanced back towards the noise, momentarily distracted. Seizing the opportunity, Camila's mother lunged at him. "Mom, no!" Camila cried out. But the chaos was overwhelming. The stranger shoved her mother aside as a figure rushed past Camila, a blur darting into the room. "Out of the way!" it yelled, voice frantic. Suddenly, the figure burst into view. It was Martin, face set in determination, as he tackled the stranger. The gun went off, a deafening pop that echoed in the chaos. Camila flinched, every nerve screaming. The world slowed as she watched. The figure hit the floor, stunned. "What have you done?" the stranger gasped, eyes stretching wide. "Stopping you," Martin shouted, out of breath, but resolute. The fight shifted, fueled by desperation. As the dust settled, Camila's heart raced. Was this really happening? She caught her mother's eye. Fear flickered there, but with it a glimmer of hope. "Camila," her mother called. "Help Martin." Together, they rushed to pin the stranger down. Tremors surged through Camila. This was her chance. She had to know the truth. "Why did you betray us?" she yelled, looking straight into the stranger's eyes. The gun had fallen from his grasp, trembling fingers still clutching the hem of darkness. "I had to follow orders," he stammered. "It's bigger than you think. They won't stop until everything is out in the open." But Camila wouldn't let fear win. Gathering her resolve, she met her mother's unwavering gaze. "No more secrets. We face this together." Suddenly, sirens blared closer, the wail growing louder, colder. Time didn't wait. The lead man stirred beneath them, panic crossing his face. "You will regret this," he hissed, fury rising. The door burst open yet again, and officers flooded the room, blue lights strobing, faces determined. "We have a situation," one officer yelled. But the tension was thick. They were too late to control the chaos that lingered. Camila looked at her mother, then at Martin and Daniel. "Let's end this," she said firmly. With the strangers subdued and the officers in control, her family slowly pieced together the remnants of their shattered lives. Confessions tumbled out, secrets ignited. In the days ahead, truth became their weapon. Camila discovered the depths of betrayal linked to her family, but alongside that came understanding and healing. They faced the storm together, reclaiming their connections, their love. As they stood together, bruised but unbroken, Camila felt a sense of hope stir within her. They were alive, and this was a chance to write a new chapter. "Thank you," she whispered to her mother, as they embraced, caught in the moment. Suddenly, Camila remembered the urgency that had once consumed her, and just like that, the story wasn't over. Shadows still loomed, whispers still echoed. Who could they trust? What new threats would arise? The fight might be done for now, but the mystery remained. So here's the thing, my friends. You must subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that await you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the story alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending, because I want to hear from you. And don't wait one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know how this wild ride ends. Your support matters. Together, we make this community thrive.